but the strength of the family is what enabled them to correct the mistakes and become an example for someone else. And I know my children are tired of hearing this, but I can't talk about family without talking about the one person from whom all of you are descended. And this was my great grandmother, who was a former slave, who was freed when she was 35 years old. She had a major influence on all of her children, boys and girls. And I was raised with her next to God. She was the next person that you listen to, because she used all of her own experiences to help to guide her children. Her name was Betty Hubbard Barber, and she was called by my grandmother, who raised us, referred to her as Mammy. My Mammy this and my Mammy that. Her grandchildren grew up calling her Betty Mammy. So my children know that when I mention Betty Mammy, I'm saying something that is the next thing to the gospel, because all the lessons that I learned from her through my grandmother have been helpful and useful. I'm aware of how much her influence handed down through my grandmother, my mother and father, who died quite young, and the other members of the family. And it doesn't mean that they didn't make mistakes, but the strength with which they were raised enabled them to follow their teachings and do what they could to correct the mistakes. But I want you all to know that you're here together because we're all descendants of Betty Mammy. And I don't know if I have time to tell you a story about her, but just an example. When she was a 14-year-old slave girl, she was making the bed, and the master's son got her hemmed between the bed and the wall and tried to molest her. And she was making the bed with an object that's like a broomstick to smooth the bed correctly. And when he approached her, she took this broomstick and cracked him over the head with it. And her mistress, the slave mistress, complimented her on protecting her virtue. But at the same time, the mistress explained, I still have to beat you because you're not supposed to hit any member of the family, of the plantation family. But she lived to be 96 years old. Now that is a major influence for anyone to have experience and live through slavery until she was age 35, and still outlive all of her siblings and many of her contemporaries. And we were fortunate enough to have passed down to us the lessons that were learned in the family. So I want you all to feel very proud of yourselves and keep that name in mind. I've been promising myself and my children that I was going to write a family history. I still haven't started it, or I've started several times. But Nika put together a booklet quite a few years ago, which was a very well done and talk about the key people in the family. But mainly what I want to say is that a strong family can weather all kinds of difficulties. And another thing that I'm very proud of is I have all these wonderful children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and in-laws, to sons-in-laws, all of them who are very warm toward each other, and I don't think there could be a family as large as this family with as many family members who marry into the family, either because they want to continue the tradition that they've grown up learning, or because they feel secure and are examples of what it is that helps to bring children up to be strong and to overcome difficulties. So if you want to know anything about the family history, if you have any questions at any time that you can reach me, drop me a note or give me a call, and I'll be happy to tell you anything you might want to know. Because I do get questions from some of the sons, and mostly sons who are living a distance away and don't always have the ability to just ask a question from time to time. Sometimes I try to write something that would be really useful to them. So I want to encourage all of you, if you're curious about anything, don't hesitate to get in touch with me. So thanks again for giving me the opportunity to be with so many of you together, to learn about, meet some of the ones that I'm not sure that I've seen before. But this has been a wonderful day for me. I'm finished. I'm the mother of 7 children, and my husband and I, when we had our first child, we took second place in each other's lives because children were important. So of course the 7, Yes. Oh, my sibling. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Let me ask you this then. How many? Raise your hand. The ones who are
Don't put your hands
Janice's children.
Take your hands off. Yeah.
I don't think any of them are here. Earling's children, descendants of Earling, raise your hand. Good. Descendants of Bertha, myself. I had the most children, so I had the most grandchildren. Descendants of John.
They were here, they left. They were here, they were left.
Is Kevin here still?
He left.
Huh?
He left.
Oh, okay. Descendants of Lois.
Just in the house.
And did I say myself?
Yeah, Early.
Bertha's descendants. And I want to say, when before my husband died, one of the children.
Sit down, children.
No, years before he died.
Dylan,
We
sit down,
had
please.
a stepmother, and we asked my father that whether or not we had any step sisters and brothers. He said no. Actually, all of my children are here. He said this to me, all of my children are yours. And I said, and all of my children are yours. So that helps a lot to give the children stability, but it doesn't mean you can't make the best of a family relationship. If you really want to enjoy your life, you want to treat your stepchildren the same way that you would want to be treated if you were not a stepchild. Does anyone have something else they want to ask you?
No, you can wrap it up. You can wrap it up. wrap it up.
Not about my family. Oh. Yes. Well, yes. Let me have what didn't I mention on Janice and on Earl?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody have any burning questions?
No.
You can wrap it up.
What?
You can wrap it up. You want to wrap it up?